Now, before we start making offers to agents and taking action, we have to pick the market we want to do deals in. And this is very important. Let's say I picked a market in the middle of Wyoming. Does that mean I'm going to get deals? I can maybe get something in contract, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be able to move the contract and actually make money. We have to pick a market where it makes sense to a buyer and also where buyers are buying. What I mean by makes sense to a buyer, there's some markets right now, even if we get the best terms in a market where the average price of a home is very high, it doesn't matter how good of terms this buyer gets it for, because the rent rates don't match the mortgage rates or his monthly payment to operate the property. So it's essential when we're finding a market, we have to pick an affordable market where a buyer can still cash flow, and we have to pick a high enough population of a market where people are actually moving to. And these are kind of the two things I follow. Now, there's some people that take more things into consideration, but essentially, these are just the two things to look out for. So if you want to screenshot this page, high population, I would say over 500,000 people. That's a pretty big city, and you can scale a good wholesale business in that city. Don't get me wrong, there are cities that have 100,000 people, 200,000 people, and there are very successful wholesalers doing deals in those cities. But generally speaking, if you want a scalable wholesale business where you can do deals every single month, I would say find a city over around 400 to 500,000 people. Now, after you find the city of over 400 or 500,000 people, we're going to go find that average sale price in that city, and we want it to be around $200,000 or lower. And I'm going to show you why. I told you before, but I'm going to show you why this makes sense. Now, let's say I picked Seattle, Washington as one of my markets I want to do business in. It's a pretty big city, but look at this average sale price of a home in Seattle, Washington. It looks like it's about $720,000 to $950,000 for the average price of a home there. Let me show you what the mortgage is going to be on that property in Seattle. Let's go over to Bankrate. On a $725,000 home at 7% interest, their payment is probably going to be around $5,400 a month. And when we look at the average rent cost in Seattle, Washington, it looks like it's only around $2,000 to $2,700 a month. A landlord right now, if they bought a house in Seattle at 7% interest, they're not going to be able to make this deal work traditionally. I'm not saying you can't find investors if you got a really good deal in Seattle. I'm just saying your buyer pool is going to shrink drastically. Now, we're going to change these numbers and keep the interest rate the same. And I'm going to change this price to about $80,000 because that's the average price of a duplex in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So let's change this price to $80,000. Right, I'm going to change this zip code. Let's just say 53209. Let me go to 0 real quick. Watch what it does to the payment. $674 a month. Interest rates really don't affect properties under $100,000, $125,000. The monthly payment doesn't get ridiculous. And now watch this. I'm going to type in average rent cost in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I'll do the zip code too. Wisconsin 53209. $1,250 a month. And let's say I got a duplex, it'd be $1,250 a month each side. And even if I got it at $1,250 a month, I'm still cash flowing. If I got a single family at $1,250 a month. That's the benefit of choosing markets right now with a low average sale price. The interest rates really don't affect these properties as much. I'm not saying the payment is the same as a lower interest rate. It just doesn't affect them as much, which makes it easier to sell to more buyers because more buyers have an actual exit strategy now other than just flipping it or trying to do a short-term rental. So that visual should have helped you understand why we're choosing markets $200,000 or lower. I'm not saying you have to choose them. I'm saying you should because it's going to be way easier to sell your deals. Guys, you don't want to be stuck in this part of your wholesale business where you're locking up a lot of contracts. Let's say you got 5 contracts and you couldn't move a single one. Those 5 contracts don't mean anything because you didn't convert them to a sale. You got to be able to sell the contract after you get it in contract. It's a 2-part job. You're only 50% of the way there if you get it in contract. We have to be able to sell it as well. And we want the highest probability right now because we're not in the greatest real estate market. We want the highest probability to be able to sell a deal. So to make that the highest probability, we got to make the deal pleasing to an investor. So an investor wants to buy it. Does that make sense? So points of emphasis on where to choose a market. These 2 metrics right here, I'm not going to tell you which markets because I don't want to influence your mind. I just want you to go pick somewhere that you found on your own and start doing deals there. In the next video, we're going to be going over using our market on Redfin to go find these properties to go offer on. So I'll see you guys in the next video and good luck finding your market.